Have you ever wanted something so much that you practically sabotaged yourself from getting it? Or if you did get it, it didn't live up to your very high expectations and dreams and hopes, and so it sort of felt like that you didn't get it at all? Well, if so, you're not alone. Today, I want to share with you a traditional Irish tale that looks at how we get in our own way, but also how we can flourish if we meet our lives and our desires with creativity, with generosity, and trust and joy. So, folklore hEochaidh, welcome, my friends. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm always glad to spend this time with you. If this is your first time joining us, my name is Kate, and I'm a professor of Irish language and folklore, and I love to share stories, proverbs, traditions, every good thing from the Irish tradition with you, because I think it helps us live more creatively and joyfully. So first, let me just tell you that this version of the tale, there's a few, this tale, there are a few versions of this tale, but the one I was looking at was told by a man called Séamus to one of my heroes, Seán O'Haughy. Seán O'Haughy was a folklore collector, a folklorist, who came from County Donegal and worked full-time for the Irish Folklore Commission. And he collected this story in Inver, County Donegal in 1956. So I'll tell you the story, and then let's talk it over. Fado, long ago, there were two sisters. One of them was quite beautiful, and so when it came time to get married, a rich man put his eye on her, and the two of them were married. The other sister wasn't quite as comely, but she made a good match to a local working man. They didn't have very much money, but they were quite happy. And in fact, they grew happier over the years because every year that she was married, she had a new baby, and she was delighted. But every time she would give birth to a new child, her sister would come and visit her, her sister who had no children of her own, and would come and say, it's not even right to give birth to these children. You haven't any food to put in their mouths. And the poorer sister would say, don't worry about that, she said. Didn't all of these children come from God? And God never made a mouth, but he gave food to put into it. We'll get by. And so it wasn't long before the good news came that the richer sister was going to have a baby. And the younger, or the poorer sister was delighted for her, and she went to be with her at the birth. And when the baby was born, I'm sorry to tell you that it was born without a mouth. What a shock. The sisters nearly fainted to see this. But the poorer sister couldn't help herself from saying, all those times you berated me for being too poor and for giving birth to children without nearly enough food to put in their mouths, and here's you with so much, all the wealth and all the food, and here you have a child without a mouth to put it in. And so, again, I'm sad to tell you that the little baby died, and the poor woman was very sad, and both of them were sad. And the poorer of the two, with all the children, lived very well, and the children flourished, and they all lived happily ever after. Now, what a story that is, isn't it? Seán Amhlaoigh, another folklorist that I admire passionately, calls this tale an exemplum. It's a teaching tale about the punishment that can be meted out on even an innocent relative when we fail to have faith. And I absolutely agree that that's here. The real crime in this tale is the failure of faith. And I do not like stories that have a gotcha. And here's why. Have you been jealous? I have. Have you been fearful? I have. Have you begrudged people or said the wrong thing? I have. I have been both of these sisters. I have been cheerful and trusting and gracious and grateful. And I can see in this story what that leads to. It leads to a life of love, of creativity, of flourishing. And I've also, at times, been fearful and mistrustful and jealous and begrudging, and I have overlooked my many blessings. And I can see that in this tale, we understand what that leads to. It leads to frustration and disappointment and sadness. I believe we've been all of those things. I see in this story that we're really talking about an attitude to life. There's cats, they're playing with all these toys today, so don't mind us here. There's an attitude to life, an attitude to creativity, and an attitude to desire, what we actually want, that is really being played out in this story, and we're being taught. Again, I want to make it clear, this story is, we can just say, yes, this one did it right, this one did it wrong. But as people who I believe fall into more than one of these categories, I think we'd all like to be the cheerful sister, the joyful sister, but I haven't been always that sister. I've been the other sister who's afraid, who overlooks her many advantages. I think there's a lot to learn from this story about how to flourish and how not to flourish. It's really comes down to being on the side of life. The sister who is willing to say, you know, I'm not sure if I'll have enough food, but I am willing still to let life live itself through me, to let life course through me, to let myself be a carrier of life. And I mean, obviously, of children in the story, but we can think of that in so many ways. You might think of that in terms of your art and artistry, that you can be willing to be a carrier of life, or of kindness, or of what you want to create or experience in your life. I came up with a kind of list of what we're being discouraged from and what we're being encouraged to take on. So the things, here's one, something that represses life. Here's an attitude: everything must be perfect or it's not worth trying or doing. Right? That's the sister saying, you don't even have the money. You should, more or less, you should wait until you have the money. Now, the irony, of course, is that she has the money. She has the food. Also, one might even point out, she could have been sharing food with her sister all along. It's just something. But so we're being discouraged from that. And the attitude of the successful or the flourishing attitude is, I'll find a way with what I have right now. I'll find a way. Another of the attitudes that stop life, how things look matters the most. How things look matters the most. How does our family look? How does our marriage look? How do I look? The attitude that lets life flow is how things feel matters the most. This big, boisterous family, all of this love, all of this, some even striving to make something happen. This feels like life is afoot. Magic is afoot. Love is afoot. Miracles are afoot. How this feels matters the most. Another of those attitudes that clamps down and represses life, there's never enough. There's never enough. We'll always be waiting for the moment when there's enough, and there never will be. And the attitude that I think lets life flow through us is, I will start and then the miracles will follow. I will set things in motion, whether that be having the baby or starting to write the book or starting the business or putting yourself out there in some way, making a friend, finding a lover. Who knows what that is for you? But I will engage with life and then the miracles will pick up and I'll have what I need. A big no. I know better than life. I think I made a video some months ago about the number one thing I have learned from decades now of looking at Irish folklore, and that was be a human being, a warm human being among human beings. But I would say, if I would say the number two, the second most important thing, it is be on the side of life. Root for life, root for other people. Be ready to welcome life. So I know better than life it's a life stopper. The thing that really brings life into your life is I'm in tune with life. I'm in tune with life. I'm on the side of life. I'll do my best with what comes. Life is flowing. Life is in charge, and I will flow along with it. So finally, fear and mistrust really are attitudes that clamp down on life, that lead to, as you can see here, disappointment, frustration, and unhappiness. But good cheer, a kind of just, you know what, I've raised my sails, I'm sailing along, good cheer and trust. I trust life, I trust, and take this any way you like. I trust life, I trust God, I trust goodness, I trust other people, I trust nature, however you want to frame that, but just an attitude of trust. Now, I know many of us can say, but the bad thing happened. And I understand that. And in some ways, that's where I wanted us to come in this. Because, as I said, I don't like gotcha stories. I don't like saying, this one did it right and this one did it wrong, and so she's doomed forever. Because, again, as a person who's done so many things wrong, who has been in the wrong, I want to learn. And so here's, I think, where we learn. We say there is hope. There's nothing to say that the richer sister can't learn from this and perhaps in time become pregnant with another child, as we can become endowed with hope, with new life, whatever form that's taking in your life or my life. We can choose to get on the side of life. A proverb that I come to again and again is Éist le ceol na hOin agus gheobhaidh tú breac. Éist le ceol na hOin agus gheobhaidh tú breac. Listen to the music of the river and you will get a trout. And ceol, music, sound. I understand that as get in tune with life, and you'll have what you need. You will find what you need. And to be in tune with life is to be cheerful, and it is to be trusting, and it is to be grateful. So I love that story, and I love the coda. To me, I can't enjoy the story of she did it wrong and so she's doomed forever. Let's keep trying. If we've been stuck, if we've gone through a chapter of feeling disheartened and hopeless and a little bit begrudging or jealous or any of those things, we can start a new chapter right now and we can flourish. So I'd love to ask you, how do you feel about this? Do you recognize yourself in both of these sisters in this story? And when you have been maybe in a chapter of discouragement or jealousy or downheartedness, how do you turn that around? Give us your wisdom. It's such a gift to all of us, a great blessing. And if you like this video, please give it a like. It helps me so much. And if you haven't, subscribe to the channel. Join us. It's free. It costs you nothing. And we love to have you here. So I hope you enjoy that story. It's lived with me a long time. Stories seem to live with me and kind of blossom at different times. And this story announced itself to me over the last week, and it niggled at me. And I think the reason it did was, again, that either or, you're either one sister or the other. And the necessity of saying, no, we're all learning. I want the space and the time to be wrong and then to learn. So I'm wishing for you a week of flourishing and a week of turning it around if you need to turn it around, and feeling again that sense of trust and good cheer. It's in you, my friends. Thank you so much for being with me. I'll see you next week.